That was absolutely fantastic.
Beautiful.
You sang it with great faith.
I
I just want to, first of all, this is the first time I've spoken at a church when the minister's here. It's kind of scary, but it's okay, all right? But anyway, Paula, thank you for asking me to be here. As Paula said, we are friends. We've worked together as colleagues for a lot of years. Paula was also working at Unity when I was a student, actually, and Richard was there and supported Vicki and I tremendously with his music and his talent. And wow, what a service you guys have. What a church you have. What a ministry you have. Yeah, okay? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, I do want to check on something. This is Unity of Renaissance in Chesapeake, right? Well, the reason I ask is because I had a dream last night. And I showed up at the wrong church. But it was 9 o'clock. And it was kind of crazy because I don't know what church it was. It was about this size church. And after I spoke, the minister said, oh, by the way, you aren't the guest speaker today. Now, there's a little bit of deja vu going on there. Vicki and I, when we were teenagers, literally, I used to speak in churches in North Carolina, and she would sing for me. And I think she actually believed what I was talking about at that time. We don't anymore, but we did at that time. And we went to a small town, I think it was Ahoskie, North Carolina, or something like that. And we drove up to the church, went in where I was supposed to speak, and sat through the service, gave the message. At the end of the message, I thanked the church with the church's name. There was this complete silence. They said, Richard, that church is a block away. True story. So I said, okay, I won't be able to stay for the end of the service. I ran down to the other church. They were all sitting there, just waiting. So I got up and gave the same message again, all right? So I always thought that was probably one of my most successful Sundays because I got to talk to 2 churches in one morning. So anyway, a long time ago. Again, I thank each and every one of you for this opportunity and being here. You know, this isn't the first time I've been here at Unity of Chesapeake. For some of you, it certainly is. The first time I came here was, I don't know, 2000 or something like that, and it was to officiate the wedding of Elizabeth Thompson and Neil Ware, who are still very close friends. Neil and I have been friends for probably 50 years, and maybe a little longer. I don't know if he's that old, but anyway, a long time. So it's really great to be back, but it's more excited, or I am more excited because of what you're doing here. COVID has not hurt you. As a matter of fact, my guess is you've stepped into it, lived with it, and lived through it. And it's still around, we know that. But at the same time, things are better, and you're here together. Isn't that great? You know, when we come together after a while of being not together, it really feels so wonderful. I want to share this morning a story as I begin. There was a little girl who was 4 years old, and she went to her mama and said, Mama, where did I come from? Mama said, honey, God created you in me, and so you came from God. She said, thank you. That felt good to her. Then the next day she saw her daddy. Daddy, where did we come from? And he said, well, honey, there was this big bang that took place. And you were our spark from that big bang. And so you have been through evolution. We have actually come from the fish and apes. But you are a human being, and I want you to know that. The little girl kind of shook her head, went back to her mom and said, Mama, Daddy said that we came from apes, and you said we came from God. Which is it? She said, well, son, honey, you got to understand, his side of the family came from apes, and my side of the family came from God. Now, Paula may have told that joke, or Richard or somebody may have told that joke recently, and it usually happens that way, but I love it because it kind of sets us up for understanding that no matter where we might have come from, we're here now. And so what I want to do, let me figure this out first, is, that's good, is share with you a story about the Jericho Road. Now, most of us have read about it. We find it, I think, in Luke. And the Jericho Road is a story that Jesus told. there was a young man who said to Jesus, Jesus, what are the greatest commandments? And Jesus said, here we go. The one on the right, right? Aha! There we go. Oh, yeah, okay, yes, that's what he said. He said, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength and with all of your mind. I like to say with all your love also. And that's the heart. And so then this fellow, who may have been a Levite, might have been a scribe, might have been a lawyer, nobody really knows, part of the Sanhedrin. What happened is he said to Jesus, well, how do you do that? And so Jesus shared the story of the Jericho Road, which I want to share with you this morning. I'm not going to read the scripture, it just takes too long, but I'll tell you the story. The Jericho Road in Jesus' time was a stretch of road that ran 17 miles from Jerusalem, which was at the top of the hill, down 3,500 feet to Jericho. Jerusalem was the seat of religion. Jericho was the seat of government. And to travel there, you took the Jericho Road. The Jericho Road was called the Trail of Blood. It was where people were murdered, beaten. Because you see, it was such a rough road that to walk it, there were plenty of places for thieves and for robbers to stop or to be and hide, and then to come after and hurt those on the road. And so Jesus went on to share that there was a young man who was on the road, may have been older, and that he was beaten just about to death by the robbers and thieves, and he was robbed. And he was laying there next to the road, on the side of the road. And Jesus said that a priest came by. And the priest looked at him and went to the other side of the road. Now, don't judge that, because you see, in that day and time, a priest was not allowed to touch anybody who was sick or dying or who had died. That was just the rule. One of those many rules they lived by. Then a Levite came along. Now, a Levite is somebody who works in the temple in a lot of different roles, sometimes as a priest. But this Levite may have been the priest's bodyguard. And they wanted to make sure the priest was protected. That was one of the roles. So the Levite goes by, he sees the guy, and he steps between the priest and the guy, and then walks with the priest to make sure that the priest is not harmed or is not touch the guy. Then Jesus said a third guy came by, a Samaritan. Now you understand that Samaritans were beneath the Israelites, beneath the Jewish people. That what happens is that the Samaritan was part of systemic racism in that day. And after all these years, it's still here. We know that, but we're working on it. And so what happens is the Samaritan goes over, and he works on the wounds of the guy. He gets him straight, gets him rested for a few minutes. He feeds him, he gives him water, and he takes him up to a lodge on the road and puts him in the lodge and says, you know what? And he paid for the home care, and for a couple of days he says, if you're still here when I get back, I'll pay you the difference. All in that time and place. Now, I kind of put the Jericho Road in two categories, yesterdays and todays. And I come back to the second thing that Jesus said, which I did not say to you, but I will tell you. Then Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. And then he gave the illustration. I apologize. And how do we love our neighbor as ourselves? Now, I know because of the community you have here, you do that. You love your neighbor. You probably love many of the people here in the congregation. You reach out in different ways. I'm sure of that, some of you. And sometimes, though, we stop at loving our neighbor or our family. This Samaritan didn't care. Let go of any kind of fear, let go of any kind of rules and regulations, and took care of this man. Now, as a child, I heard that story, and as a young adult and over the years, what I remembered, of course, is that if somebody is hurt, if somebody is hurting, if somebody needs care, if somebody needs to be consoled, if somebody is in anguish, if somebody is angry, that we step in to work with them, support them, and love them, just the way they are. And that's what I remembered from it. So in a few occasions in my life, I have stepped in where maybe I might not have if I hadn't have learned that rule, and it was a rule to me. It was something that I was to be and how I was to be. There were times, though, I've got to admit, in my total life journey, that I didn't always do that. And so I had to give myself a time of forgiveness, literally, before I came into ministry, to understand that that was the role I was to play as a minister, to be there, not to judge, and to behold the Christ in each person, no matter how they're acting. And so I began to take that on as part of my Jericho Road, if you would. Well, if we continue to look at this story in a little different way, what happens, I'm still having a little trouble here, but I'll get it. There we go. Okay, that's the story. See it? Thank you. I'm past that. Okay. Okay. So one of the things I want to say is that's today's Jericho Road. Okay? That the Good Samaritan, he provides food, he provides care, he provides health care, he provides a wage, literally, for this person. He really steps in and makes a difference and was literally not being religious, but I would say, in our terms, being spiritual. He was following his spiritual nature. He was following and understanding who and what he was. He wouldn't have said the Christ in that day, but that's what he was. The Christ, the divine, acting out, expressing, and demonstrating as a divine blessing to people. And so, if we start to look at that, now we look and say, that's what it was yesterday. What is it today? Where do we go today? Okay. Now, I want to switch for a minute and talk about what we are. Pierre Chardin, who wrote the evolution, not evolution of man, the meaning of man, right? Yes. The what? The phenomenon of man. Thank you. That's why Vicky's here, to help me. So anyway, and in it he said that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. And as spiritual beings, the way I phrase it is we are spiritual beings. Let's see if that's up there. I phrase it this way. I am a spiritual being having a spiritual experience in the human condition. Now, I want to explain that for a second, because I've had some people say, oh, wait, what do you mean? See, I don't believe personally. This is Richard Bunch. This is not Unity's philosophy. This is not speaking for the Home Office. This is not speaking for the movement. I, Richard Bunch, personally believe that I am having a spiritual experience. Now, in the human condition. Now, what does that mean? It doesn't mean that everything in the human condition is created and caused by spirit. I don't believe that. What it means is that as I live in the human condition, as I step into the human condition, that what I am able to do is depend upon my spirituality to interpret what is mine to do in each and every situation. It may not be pretty. It may not be what I would like. It may not be heartwarming. But my responsibility is to warm other people's hearts. My responsibility as a spiritual being is to figure out what's mine to do next when a roadblock comes up. And so, as we look at that and understand that, the human condition, is that we begin to understand, I'm sorry folks, but I should have done that from the back. Okay, so now we're going to get into part of the summary, okay? Understand, again, who and what we are. There was a little boy, maybe 3 to 4 years old, and his mama had brought into the world a new baby sister. And he was so excited when she came home. And after a couple of days, she said to her mother, can I go and talk to my sister? And she said, well, sure, come on, we'll come with us. And he said, no, I want to talk to her alone. Well, this bothered him a little bit. It was kind of unusual behavior as far as they were concerned. So they said, well, let us think about it a little bit. And he came back and said again, can I talk to my sister alone? And she said, why do you want to do it alone? And he said, well, I'm beginning to forget God. And I want her to remind me. You know, some of us go, oh, I'm sorry. The little fellow said to his mother, I want to see my little sister. And she said, okay, you can do it alone, but I'm asking why. And he said, the reason is that I want to remember God because I'm beginning to forget. Now, I can't prove this. I don't know if it's true. It's just a theory. But I happen to believe that the newborns are totally one for a few months until we get hold of them. And I say that jokingly and lovingly because that's what happens. But I really believe they are in the oneness. Everything is one for them. Mama's one, Daddy's one, the crib is one, everything's one. And then we grow and we have our spiritual journey. And I believe there's a reason for it. I think there's a possibility that each of us needs to grow in an understanding of not only who we are, what we are, but how we are to live in the human condition. That we're all divine beings. We all are divine ideas. We all are divine demonstrations. And as that, we can step into and own ourselves. I think the questions that the young man asked Jesus, what are the great commandments? The first commandment, love yourself, love God, blah, blah, blah. That first commandment says to me, metaphysically, when you do that, you love yourself. You can step into the ownership of love for yourself. And you know, that's the most important part of the spiritual journey. Because until we really love ourselves, we really are, I think, incapable to totally love others. That's the first step. It opens the door. It opens the way. It gives us an opportunity to say yes to life itself, to live it in joy, live it in peace. All the songs that were today, beautiful songs that bring us together in our oneness. That says, this is who I am. This is what I am. This is what I want to share with the world. And so, as we take this road on the Jericho, as we move into this journey, you see, the Jericho Road is the human condition for us. But in today's world, the Jericho Road is not feeding the Good Samaritan, feeding the guy, the one who was robbed. The Good Samaritan was literally providing wages that are decent for people all over. The Good Samaritan is one who helps feed people who are hungry. The Good Samaritan is one who helps to provide health care for all people. It's changed. We communicate better. We're in a bigger society. We're in a bigger world in some ways. And so we have this opportunity, I believe, each and every one of us, to be on the Jericho Road by choice. And to step out and reach out and touch people. And all of us can do that. Now, sometimes thinking about that, is so big because of everything that's going on. And we know what's going on in the world. Maybe not totally accurately, but we do know. And so what happens is we become overwhelmed. And we just want to give up sometimes. But I think there's something that each and every one of us can do. Vicki and I have given some money to support the Ukrainian refugees. I can't go there and do it, but I can give something that I have to give to support them. Everybody could give $1. Everybody could give $1 if they wanted to, if you're called to. And I want to emphasize that. What is Spirit asking you to do? And are you listening to that? And as you do, what happens is you find out that maybe there's something in the community that you can literally be a part of. And I'll give you an example. In the church in Richmond where I was, there was one woman who was a community organizer. She was an optometrist, so she gave 1 day a week to helping the people who could not afford eye care to do that. She led a number of sessions with the Virginia legislature on getting in laws that helped and support people, that honored people. And she was active in the church. I don't know how she did it all. But there was a person that is a great example of being a spiritual being, giving of herself to support others, and never asking for any recognition for that. She got the recognition because she earned it, but never asking for recognition. So I would suggest to you that you on the Jericho Road have an opportunity today, like we've never had before, to make a difference. I personally believe that what's happening in the world is part of the omega point, part of that coming together that Chardin predicted. He thought, and he used the words, God is love. I love that. And as he did, he said love was evolving to the point that we'd all come together and understand each other. We wouldn't be alike. We'd be different, but we would not be able to tolerate each other. We would honor each other. And that's what I would suggest to you, that as you take time in prayer, which we'll do in a moment, that you ask yourself, what is mine to do? What is mine to do? And then Spirit will give you an answer at some point in some time. So let's take that time now to move into a few moments of meditation. And as you do, I encourage you to take a nice, deep breath, taking it in and letting it out. Take it in and gently let it out. And feel the divine working in and as you. Feel your heart space opening to all that you are. Feel the mind that you are, that we are, directing your thoughts, directing your brain, directing your action. And then just say to yourself, what is mine to do? And then know that as you talk to yourself, you're talking to Spirit within. You're talking to beingness. You're talking to love. You're talking to wisdom. And now take a few moments in the silence and contemplate, what is mine to do? What is mine to do? And together we come from the heart space. We extend ourselves to one another. We extend the connection that we are to not only ourselves, but outside of this building, to those who are watching, to those who are not present. And we say, thank you, God. Thank you for this experience. Thank you for the spiritual experience that I'm having in the human condition. And you're going to ask yourself, what is mine to do? The answer may not come in this moment. It may not come the way you think it will, but it will come if you continue to ask, what is mine to do on the Jericho Road of today? And so now we become more aware of the present moment, but still remembering who we are and what we are, and how we can demonstrate the Christ within us. And so it is. Namaste and namaste.